So thank you all for tuning in. Just give me a thumbs up, if you're type hello or something in the chat room, and just let us know that you're here and that you're hearing everything okay. So I know some of the people tuning in have maybe never connected with me before, never connected with Portal to Ascension before. And also I've got, quite a few friends showing up as well that are familiar with my work. Well, I want to invite all of you to just connect in energetically with a field that we are holding together, a sacred portal and energy of connectedness, of love, a sacred portal for galactic integration. Because every time we do a webinar like this, at least every time I host one, it's always a bit of a portal opening for some type of integration. So the title of this is Integrating Our Galactic Heritage. And I want to emphasize the word integrating here because, we've talked about people being light workers and starseeds, but, what I see is a common factor and in some ways more right at the heart of our actual evolutionary process is that we are integrators. And we are here to be galactic integrators. We are integrating galactic energy, galactic consciousness, galactic memory, and we're also integrating with our galactic roles and what it means to be human. So we're going to take a really deep dive into this subject, and we're going to learn a little bit more about what it means to be human and how all of you are connected with this galactic integration process. And what I always love about sharing this kind of information is that it actually activates your DNA. So I'm going to be telling some stories. I'm going to be sharing some information. Some of it comes from the living records, the Akashic records of the earth. Some of it comes from galactic memory, galactic history. But because this is all stuff that is inside of your body, this information has a way of resonating with these stories as they exist inside of your body and your DNA. And so that's what we want to drink in and say yes to, because as a storyteller, as a galactic integrator, one of the things that I get to do is to support a process that wants to happen inside of all of us. It's really a restoration of something that has always been there, that's been dormant, but it is reactivating and it is realigning with galactic sources of light and consciousness that have always been a part of us. But for some of us, it's only just now coming to light. Now, some of you have been on this journey for a long time, and you've been having experiences since you were in your childhood with galactic visitors and contact. And, for example, some of us started receiving at a very early age these memory implants or dream implants, which was a way of seeding the idea of ET contact into our dreams and to start to build some of that potential inside of us to be galactic integrators later on in life. And that has been happening for quite a lot of people. And we're also going to be looking at how different generations are coming to age and coming into their roles in this galactic integration process. So there's a lot to cover. I am going to talk about starseeds and galactic ambassadors and some different types of these things so that you can see some of the different sort of categories, if you will, of these types of people and their experiences. But if you are wondering, what am I? What category am I in? By the end of this part of the presentation, you're going to realize that it doesn't matter, because as a galactic integrator, you are integrating with all of it. So it doesn't matter what's in your DNA. What is there is a portal to galactic integration, because that's what you are as a human being. Now, some people do have a little bit more extraterrestrial DNA than others, and some people have come in with a stronger mission to bridge our connection into the galactic family, regardless of what is in their DNA. And then we see some different combinations of both. So over the years, I've received a lot of transmissions about this subject of what's in our DNA and our connection to the galaxy. I've also had experiences since childhood of contact. And since I was about 17 years old, I started to have more direct experiences of contact, even seeing ships, communicating with the beings telepathically inside, having out-of-body experiences where I would go aboard the ships in the out-of-body state. And here we're talking about not 3D physical ships, but vehicles of consciousness that are multidimensional, that can phase in and out of our physical reality. Some of my favorite experiences of contact have been experiences where the Arcturians, for example, were able to just split my physical reality into two different realities. And I was able to experience being in this reality, in 3D reality, but then a part of me opened up and had almost like a temporary 5D light body, physical body experience of their frequency of reality. And I got to see how there is a process opening up inside of our DNA to integrate these different realities so that they collapse and they come together and they become one integrated reality. So what is a starseed? Are you a starseed? What does this have to do with our evolutionary process? A lot of people are claiming that they are starseeds and actually wearing this and saying proudly, I am a starseed. Well, a starseed is a couple of different things. And there's maybe a couple different sort of degrees of how you identify with or experience your own starseed nature. So a starseed to me is someone that has come in to be a bridge into the galactic family, the galactic community. And these are usually souls that are coming in and they embody a connection to various galactic families of consciousness because they come from there. Their souls are coming from those families of consciousness and incarnating here. And so in some cases, they may not have had a lot of lifetimes on Earth, but they're coming in and acting as a bridge. Now, often souls that have that kind of a role to be a bridge to the galaxy are incarnating into lineages that have a little bit more galactic DNA than the average human being. Now, we all have some galactic DNA, but over many, many centuries, there have been various seeding projects. A seeding project was a project where various galactic families of consciousness came in and they contributed some of their DNA to create a stronger bridge between the human family and various galactic families of consciousness. Now, there have been many seeding projects over many ages of time. And I venture to say that based upon the awareness that's been communicated to me, perhaps as much as 10% of the global population has a little bit of extra galactic DNA, ET DNA, a little bit more than the average person. Now, we all have some, like I said, and I'm going to tell a little bit of the story of how that came to be. But probably about 10% have a little bit more than others. There are certain lineages of Native Americans, for example. There are certain Jewish lineages. There are certain lineages in all parts of the world that have a little bit of this extra galactic DNA. A lot of these seeding projects were Pleiadian in nature. The Pleiadians seem to have come in a number of different times and contributed some DNA. And I'm going to talk a little bit about how that happens because I got to witness a more recent galactic seeding project that started or it took place really less than 2 decades ago. And I was absolutely fascinated to see how this worked. So what I was shown is that a particular very highly evolved association of different ET races that wanted to support humanity to develop its consciousness, to assimilate more galactic knowledge, and to have a deeper relationship to the Earth, which is something that these particular ET races, I don't have names for them, but I do know that they all held a very high level of integrity with the Earth and humanity's relationship to the Earth. So these were beings that love and respect human sovereignty, that respect the Earth, and that engaged in this particular galactic seeding project because the Earth and humanity gave permission for this. So they asked permission. Now, there are other seeding projects that have gone on that have not involved the same level of permission. And that's kind of a, an interesting tangent that we might explore. But this particular project that I was shown asked permission, and a number of different human volunteers said, yes, I will contribute my DNA. And so what happened is that there was some form of contact that took place physically where DNA samples were taken, and the human beings involved were actually aboard a ship. Sometime during the night, they had an experience where they were taken aboard a ship, and they actually saw the process of their DNA being used to create a fertilized egg that could then be implanted into a surrogate mother. And these human beings were able to actually gather around what looks sort of like a petri dish and to actually participate in a ceremony of intentionalizing the energy of that child, of putting love and intentions for the earth and humanity into the field of that new genetic combination. And then that fertilized egg was implanted into a surrogate mother on the physical plane, also part of the project, but completely disconnected from the group that contributed the DNA. And so there are these mothers that got pregnant because they also volunteered for this, and yet the pregnancy was not from the DNA of their partner. It's kind of fascinating to consider that that has happened. I don't think it has happened very often. I think these seeding projects, the type that I witnessed, are really rare. However, I was shown the birth of at least one of these children and have watched them at different ages and have received information coming to me about this particular seeding project. And what I saw is that these children were born with a very high level of awareness of their DNA. They know what DNA is. They know what's in their DNA. They know that their DNA is different than most human beings, and that they actually carry genetic codes from 3 different galactic civilizations that contributed codes to their genetic profile. So imagine that. I mean, that's pretty far out that this is even happening. But what is this doing? And why would the Earth allow this? It's because the consciousness of all of the beings involved, the human contributors, the galactic ET contributors, they are all infusing the consciousness of these new humans with this very deep devotion to Mother Earth and to humanity, and to creating a more complete balance of harmony between humanity and nature. And that's why this is allowed, because there are certain galactic civilizations that have a stronger integrity with the Gaias of their world, and they have a stronger consciousness and resonance of respect for all life, that they know that we need a bit more of this right now. We have not yet fully embraced that as a principle of an organizing principle in our society, to put Earth first. And that's really the simple way to put it, to understand that the kind of civilizations that we want to actually connect with and receive downloads from, and that are, you know, they've kind of got our backs in a way in this whole integration process, because we're also facing other types of energies that do not love and respect human sovereignty and support it in the same way as others do. So we want to really adopt an Earth first consciousness, and to embody this as a principle in our consciousness, to say that we're really not interested in even communicating with or allowing into the auric field of the Earth any civilizations that do not respect human sovereignty and put the Earth first in terms of really listening to the Earth and listening to what the Earth wants, and to respect the discernment of all of the living creatures upon the Earth, some of which have more galactic discernment than we do. So we're going to get into this a little bit later on, because discernment is a really, really big key here. So there are some human beings that have a little bit more galactic DNA because they come from various seeding projects, most of them more ancient, even though there's a few that are more recent. Most of them are more ancient. And most of us that do have this galactic DNA, the larger percentage of it is Pleiadian or Saryon in nature. And there are some other seeding projects that are interesting as well, but these are kind of the main ones. But it doesn't really matter whether you have come in as a bridge, somebody who's here to open that bridge of consciousness for humanity collectively to the galactic community. It doesn't matter whether you have one particular type of genetic code or another, because when you go back to the very origins of humanity, when you go back to how we were created, we were all created with some extraterrestrial DNA. Now, there's a couple of other things that I want to talk about before we get into that, because it's actually, to me, it's even sharing the story is like a sacred ceremony. It's like an invitation to dive deep into the awareness of our origins and to read from the records of your own body. So we're going to create a little bit of a ceremony out of this. But I want to talk a little bit more about some other things related to starseeds, because we also have walk-ins. Walk-ins and starseeds are a little bit different. With a walk-in, you actually have, in some cases, a galactic ambassador. Walk-ins are usually extraterrestrial souls that have walked into a body where the soul that was there before has left. Actually, some of my first mentors were walk-ins. I had a Pleiadian walk-in and a Saryon walk-in that were mentors of mine. They were also channels. They were very highly evolved beings. They were here to support humanity's awakening in various ways. And these walk-ins were playing roles to help us with spiritual development, but there are other kinds of walk-ins as well. Now, sometimes a starseed and a walk-in can be the same thing. So there's differences. A walk-in, usually when we're talking about a walk-in, we're talking about somebody who's come in to take over where another soul has left. But when you have a starseed, someone that has a little bit more galactic DNA, somebody that is already on the path to bridge consciousness with the galactic community, sometimes a walk-in can come as a guide and join in the incarnation. And then you have both going on. You have somebody who is here as a starseed, but they have a walk-in guide that is not replacing anything. They are just coming in to enhance that incarnation and to co-create from being partially in the body, being partially overlaid. So there's a lot of fascinating possibilities here for how we can experience galactic integration. We can experience meeting our galactic guides, and as we become integrated with their energies, we become, in a way, ambassadors of galactic integration, and we can become models of it. And that can happen without you having a walk-in guide and without you wearing the badge of I'm a starseed. It comes through your willingness to receive and to connect with all that is available to integrate with through another kind of galactic seed, which is a seed of wholeness. And this seed of wholeness is a seed of wholeness with humanity and wholeness with the entire galaxy. And when you really get that that seed of wholeness has been inside of all of us, you realize that starseed or not, you are integrating all of it into the vibration of the one. So now we're going to connect in with the story about our origins. Now, the story of human origins is incredibly vast. There's a lot to it, but there's one piece of it that we want to center in on that is incredibly important for us to understand our role as galactic integrators. So I want to invite you to just connect with your body for a moment and connect with the earth and this earth first mentality, this earth first consciousness that the various starseed projects have been about supporting. It's why the earth has allowed these seeding projects to take place, because they are in integrity with the earth. And so with that in mind, let's get connected for a moment with the earth herself and allow the Gaia resonance field to arise within us and to reveal the story of our origins to us. Because it's not enough to just hear someone else's experience of this and someone else's take on it. I can share with you something that was given to me to share because the earth recognizes, and many other beings recognize, that I am a conduit for this kind of information to come out to people. But because this information is inside of you, It is part of your natural birthright to receive the restoration of these memories and to reclaim them. And so, to the degree that I'm able to relate these memories to you accurately and with a high level of integrity with the truth, allow the reflection of this knowledge to take you into your own experience of it and drink this in, because the story I'm going to share with you is a story of a sacred ceremony. And it is a ceremony that exists inside of everyone's DNA. The record of this exists inside of all of our bodies. And so we can all tap into and remember and experience this ceremony as if it is happening inside of us in simultaneous time. So about a little more than 200,000 years ago, there was a seeding project that took place to create humanity. Now, you've probably read or heard different stories that people have channeled about our origins and about what happened. I remember reading various versions of this from other channels. And yet, these were the perspectives of the channels telling the story. And the perspective, perhaps, of various masters or ETs. But the earth also has a perspective. The earth remembers. The earth also consciously participated in this project. So imagine that the earth is this wondrous, amazing, vast galactic mother whose presence extends into the galaxy. And she is seeking to extend her influence. The earth knows that she is this magnificent being, this magnificent biological library of creation. And she wants to extend her consciousness to evolve, to become greater love, and to share that love as a frequency with other emerging worlds. And the earth is aware that there are many potentials, there are many possibilities for how this can happen. And so she is looking at what you might consider the different suitors, the different potential galactic contributors that want to come in and create a new species, a new guardian species, in the same way that the dolphins and the whales are a very ancient guardian species in this world. They guard and protect this world with their consciousness. They are stewards of the sacred memory of the earth. Well, it was time to create a new galactic guardian species. And there were many different species that showed up that wanted to contribute. So the Pleiadians, and I don't remember exactly why, I wasn't told exactly why, but the Pleiadians were chosen to be the stewards of this project. It was their project. They had a reason for creating this new species upon the earth. And that reason was in resonance with a galactic purpose that the earth saw for this new species that went far beyond the reasons why the Pleiadians were creating this particular human species, us. So the earth, interestingly, had a much more far-reaching view. The earth sees that the Pleiadians want to create a new human species and is thinking about what is going to become of that species, what we will become, what we will evolve into, well beyond what the Pleiadians were thinking at the time. So the earth said yes, but the earth actually didn't reveal all of the potentials. The earth simply opened the doorway energetically to support this happening. So the Pleiadians, when they started to experiment with how to create a human being that would be suitable to this environment, that would be able to fulfill the various purposes that they had for that particular being, they started experimenting, and they had a lot of difficulty creating a hybrid. They were working with primitive human DNA of some of our human ancestors, and they were mixing it with their own DNA, and they were really having a challenge to create a human hybrid that would survive. So they had complications, and they had to bring in support and help from the really advanced reptilian master geniuses that were, some of which were graduates from the previous Earth living library. So millions of years before, there was a living library, a version of the Earth living library that was stewarded by a very conscious reptilian race. And they actually ascended and went beyond their physicality and became their light body selves and became a race of galactic beings. Now, there's a lot of people that have heard all kinds of stories about the reptilians, and I'm going to get into that a little bit. But the reptilians that were involved with the human project were beings of love and light. They were very, very advanced in their understanding of DNA, and they were very advanced in their understanding of the timelines and all of the different potentials that they were participating in. So they helped the Pleiadians to create this hybrid. Now, originally, there were a lot of other civilizations that wanted to contribute DNA. There was a whole congress of representatives from many, many different galactic races that came to witness this project. I remember seeing some of the ETs that were there because this entire memory was shown to me. I was in a visionary state, and it's like I was actually there witnessing all of the activities that went on. And so I saw some ETs that were lion-like in nature. They had lion heads and lion-like bodies. There were some that were elephant-like extraterrestrial beings. There were some that did not have upright walking bodies with legs and arms. They were more like slugs or snails, or different types of creatures that they could teleport, they could appear and disappear, they could move in and out of this lower vibrational reality, but they were still manifesting their original forms from their own worlds. And many of these were civilizations that had been contributors of DNA to many animal species on the Earth. So these were some of the contributors to the Earth Living Library that had already been involved, and they wanted to have representation of their more higher consciousness selves upon the Earth. They wanted to see a new version of themselves come to fruition as a new galactic civilization on the Earth. But because this was a Pleiadian project, the Pleiadians ultimately were the ones that got to make the call. And they actually considered for a time the idea of creating some kind of a super being. They wanted to see if they could figure out how to incorporate DNA from all of these different creatures and to create one genetic profile that incorporated a little bit of all of it. So they were thinking really, really big in terms of how to create galactic integration. Now, that's one of the reasons why we're talking about our role as galactic integrators, because that's actually the original purpose. It was one of the original purposes, because they thought that, there's a lot of different civilizations out there. We have not been able to bring them all into alignment with a vibration of wholeness that would support a collective galactic ascension process. And so in order to make that happen, we want to see if we can create a species that could integrate them all into a balanced vibration of wholeness. But ultimately, they decided that this was not going to work. Now, there were some civilizations that were disappointed, but they backed down and they allowed the project to come to fruition. And finally, the Pleiadians were able to create a hybrid with the help of the reptilians. And the reptilians, as their contribution, they also included a small amount of reptilian DNA in these original human prototypes.
Hi there, everyone. This is Neil with Portal to Ascension, and I want to just take a moment here, just a quick minute after this video. Firstly, the video that you just saw is one of the many event productions that Portal to Ascension that I've created over the years, created hundreds of events, and now we have an archive that's kind of like Netflix for consciousness on our website. I'm just going to show you really quick how you can sign up right now and view and navigate hundreds of hours of presentations, many of them, most of them for free, and utilize the Portal to Ascension platform. So you go to the website, portaltoascension.org, you type in your name, email. Pretty soon we're relaunching a new website, so everything's going to look a little bit different, but pretty much the same thing. Go to the website, enter your name, email, click sign up. You'll then, within a few minutes, get an email sent to your sent to you that will have login information with a temporary password to log into the site. You then go to login, you enter your email address, the password given to you, and you click login. And this will take you directly into the back end of our website where you can navigate all of the footage that's available to you. And you can see here, you can type and start searching for a speaker, topic, whatever you want, true world history, William Henry, you can type anything over there. You can browse by category: advanced technology, ancient civilizations, ascension, conference, conscious business, conspiracies, divine feminine, evolution of consciousness, extraterrestrial awareness, hot chakra, holistic healing, and so on and so on and so on. And then you can even browse by speaker here, and you can see on the right hand side starts with Adam Apollo in alphabetical order, and you can browse by each speaker and look at their videos as well. And the way it works is we have it all split up here: my webinars, which is where we are right now, my watch list, so you can add things to your watch list, watch later, and then documentaries, where you can watch documentaries, and interviews that we've done. All the presentations are laid out in a grid over for you here. All you have to do to watch one is click on it. And there you go, it's right here. We also have suggested webinars for you, the description, the speaker info, the speaker bio page. So it's really become a one-stop shop for consciousness. So if you want to check out the full presentation of what you just saw, if you want to check out any other of these presentations, or just have this place, this amazing resource for you that's a one-stop shop for all things consciousness, where we're not only do we have all this content and footage from the past, but we're constantly creating events and footage every single week. We do around 110 events a year at this point. 80% of them are online. So go ahead and sign up. Go to portaltoascension.org and take a look at all the amazing information that we have there for you.